Let's talk some USC Trojan recruiting as USC beats Nebraska. A much-needed win for Lincoln Riley, to say the least. And we got some big news coming out of Southern Cal this week. First of all, we're going to talk about both the decommitment of Julian Lewis and the five-star flip from Texas A&M to USC. We're talking quarterback Husan Longstreet. Steve, take us behind the scenes of these major developments.
Well, Husan Longstreet had been keeping Texas A&M warm all fall, visited a couple times just to go meet with the coaching staff. Coach Heward from USC went to his game on Friday. Longstreet returned the favor, was on campus for USC's win over Nebraska. And although he had a lot of love for Texas A&M, he was the first quarterback Mike Elko and that new coaching staff, Colin Klein, targeted. USC the opportunity to stay close to home. And talking to him after his commitment, he said Lincoln Riley's got 5 quarterbacks in the NFL right now. 4 of them won the Heisman Trophy. How could you beat that? And then he likes that this program is trending towards a national championship. He loves the way they're recruiting, thinks it's a special recruiting class, wants to be part of all of that and play close to home. Coach Heward, he's known for several years. He completed the flip on Saturday night, went public with his plans on Sunday.
All right, Steve, settle something for us. For those scoring at home, publicly, it looked like Julian Lewis decommitted, and then 30 minutes, Husan Longstreet with a spot open committed. But is that really the way it went down?
USC was keeping Husan Longstreet warm all season because Julian Lewis was obviously looking around himself, taking visits to Colorado, Indiana, talking to Auburn, and all of those programs. USC had to protect themselves. They did not sign a quarterback in the 2024 cycle. Julian Lewis was their initial target in 2026 when the Lewis camp said that he would be reclassifying to 25 behind the scenes. USC stopped recruiting any 2025 quarterback because Lincoln Riley recruits guys one at a time. That doesn't mean that he doesn't think other guys are of the caliber of USC, but Julian Lewis was the first guy they targeted, he honed in on. And once Julian Lewis started showing interest in other programs, USC started showing interest in Husan Longstreet. I think they were pretty patient with Julian Lewis and his camp throughout, but it was time to pivot to another quarterback, and they went all in on Husan Longstreet all fall, and he commits to USC on Saturday night. Lincoln Riley and his staff calls Julian Lewis in his camp before things go public to tell him that they are indeed moving in another direction. So Julian Lewis, who was USC's top initial target, obviously is now back out on the market, and Husan Longstreet is USC's quarterback commit.
Yeah, it feels to me almost, most of the time when you say USC flipped a 5-star, it's like, well, they kind of forced Julian's hand to move out of the class. But in reality, I mean, Julian Lewis kind of forced USC's hand to go out and get another quarterback, don't you think?
Yeah, and there was times where Julian could have shut it down, but he didn't want to. He's going through his process on his own time, checking his own boxes, dotting his own I's, and crossing his own T's. So USC they needed a quarterback this cycle. They have one of the best in the country in their backyard. They turned it up on him for the last several months, and Husan Longstreet was ready to make his final decision. It's USC, and he's in the fold. Lincoln and Riley and company are certainly ecstatic about that, and we'll see what that means for Julian Lewis down the road.
Yeah, so as Julian Lewis trends heavily to Colorado, USC happy with their quarterback, as you said, from Corona, California, and Husan Longstreet. We'll see what happens with Julian Lewis. Well, I'm sure we'll be talking about him all week on this channel, so stay tuned. I want to talk, though, first about a defensive prospect right now, Jahkeem Stewart. It was his official visit to USC this weekend. The 5-star defensive lineman is less than 3 weeks from a decision. Steve, what are you hearing coming out of a USC official visit? Hey, Inside Scoop fans and college football recruiting nuts. It's time to upgrade your audio game. You may have a pair of headphones you like, but the battery life, it's too short, or they just don't stay in your ears, or you don't want to spend hundreds of dollars every time you lose an earbud. Enter Jlab. Jlab is creating headphones, earbuds, and work accessories designed for everyday lifestyle. You guys know the best of the best are wearing them, from Travis Hunter to Ohio State's Will Howard to Quinshon Judkins. So for travel, here's what we recommend. The J-Bud Luxe over-ear headphones. If you're working out, get the Jlab J-Buds, Sport ANC4, offering a secure fit and a super long battery life for those tough workouts. Discover your perfect pair of headphones. Look for the Jlab Blue Box at retailers everywhere or visit jlab.com.
Well, the early returns on Jahkeem Stewart's visit to USC are very strong, starting with a lavish dinner in Malibu on Friday night, seeing a big win inside the Coliseum on Saturday against Nebraska, knowing the opportunities that Los Angeles presents to USC football players off the field. That combination is what he's looking for. Eric Henderson, his lead recruiter, his potential position coach, he doesn't have a closer relationship than that one in college football. There's a couple other guys, Lyle Clark at Ohio State, but him and Coach Henne are tight. Coach Henne's from New Orleans. He played high school football with Jahkeem's trainer and mentor, Clyde Alexander. There's a lot of trust there, and it doesn't hurt that Coach Henderson coached Aaron Donald and the Rams, won a Super Bowl, so he has that pro pedigree. Jahkeem Stewart's also considering LSU, where he was at 2 weekends ago, and then Oregon and Ohio State. He's already been to both Oregon and Ohio State this fall. His Oregon official was for the Ducks win over the Buckeyes. He'll be back next week. This weekend. The Ducks are on a bye week, so they're going to get to spend a lot of time with Jahkeem Stewart in his camp. Then he takes his official visit to Ohio State for the Michigan game. Then he goes into decision mode. And USC certainly gave him a lot to think about going into his last 2 visits and reminders of why he's always had the Trojans so high on his list.
Call me crazy, but I like Oregon here. I'm just calling my early shot. I know you haven't put in a prediction, but I think when it's all said and done, I think I like Oregon for Jahkeem Stewart. We'll see what happens. Steve, you got any more
you've been
USC?
reading the intel pieces.
You got any more USC intel from the weekend?
Yeah, Brandon Arrington, number 1 athlete in the 2026 class, was on campus, in-state recruit. Been a lot of Texas A&M buzz around him. USC certainly had an eye-opening visit with him. Still like USC to land On3's number 1 corner in 2026, RJ Sermons. I think this was his 3rd game with USC, including the neutral site win over LSU. Deshaun Rideau is an in-state running back I like USC for, but Sean Alston from Ohio visited this weekend, his best visit yet. USC made a big impression on him as well.
All right, USC fans, it sounds like the Trojans are heating up in the state of California, whether it's Husan Longstreet, RJ Sermons, Brandon Arrington. They're starting to heat up in the state of California. That's been a big buzzword this whole offseason. So Trojan fans, talk to us. How are we feeling about recruiting? The ups and downs are crazy, but it's been a big weekend. Let us know. Comment section below.